Hello, everyone, to Tuesday Night Live with independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm so glad you joined me tonight. Thank you for allowing me some time to travel and recuperate. I appreciate that so much. I don't know, the trip to Wyoming was long, and when I got back, man, I was so tired. So anyway, let's go ahead and see who's on and see if we can get that up. Come on. I haven't been on in so long. Why is my home not going where it needs to go? I can find my video. I'm stuck. For some reason it is stuck. That is not good. Come on. Thank you, Facebook. Finally. There we go. Yay, now we're on. Woohoo! Go ahead and say hello when you get on. We'll wait just a minute or two. The July online exclusives products will release at midnight Mountain Time tonight, which is 11 p.m. here in the Pacific Northwest. And I can't open this yet. A few more hours to wait and then I can open it. But here is the front of our product list. And I will be showing you after the project tonight what I got out of that little brochure. So hello, Lynette. Hello, Cynthia. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate you. So we're going to be using the Oh My Fright bundle. And actually, there's a whole suite to this. And it is called the Frightfully Fun Bundle. There is an embossing folder and paper, ribbon, and embellishment. This is the embossing folder. It's called Swirls of Magic. And this is what it looks like when it is embossed and distressed on two-tone cardstock. I'll show you a project with that. We're not actually using it tonight, but I will show you a project that coordinates with the project that we're making tonight. And then we've got the black iridescent ribbon. And this is beautiful and it ties beautifully, and we'll be using that tonight on our project. Frightfully Fun is the name of the suite and the designer series paper. We are not using this tonight, but this is the paper. It's a fun little pack. Lots of Halloween type things, but the reverse sides can be used for a lot of other things because it is not specifically Halloween on the reverse. Okay, then the embellishments in this suite are the bats and ghosts. They're actually called adhesive backed bats and ghosts, but this is, and we'll be using this on our project tonight. And it looks like one of my little dotty things has decided to go astray. And now I see I don't have my take your pick tool here where it should be either. Well, that's kind of weird. Okay, well, that's going to be a problem. Oh, there. Put it clear over here. I was working on some treat boxes earlier today, and I had to get those ready for an in-person event. And then here is the bundle. So we've got Blackberry Bliss and Golden Glow, and then just black ink. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so we are making a gift box, treat box, because I typically don't send Halloween cards. So I thought I would show you how to make a quick and easy treat box using this bundle and the pieces from it. So let's go ahead and set all these pieces up here. Okay, and let's start with our treat box. So this is a piece of basic gray cardstock. Oh, I'm losing my pieces, and if I don't get them now, they're going to go astray. Grab that real quick. So we have basic gray, and this is 4 1/4 by 7. Okay, we're going to make a very simple treat box here. So let's start with this, and on the 7-inch side, we're going to score this at 3 inches from each end. So we'll go 3 inches and rotate 180 and go 3 inches. Okay, now if you so choose, you could do 3 and 4 inches, but I like to do it this way because then if my cardstock isn't exactly 7 inches, I'm 3 inches from each end and it is square. So I'm going to do the same thing on the 4 1/4 inch side. I'm going to do this at 1 inch and rotate it and do 1 inch. Now you could do 1 inch and 3 1/4, but again, if I'm not exactly 4 1/4, if I do 1 inch each end, then I am even. Okay, so let's go ahead and give those a good crease with our bone folder. All right. And then we're going to, on the long side, we're going to cut up on these 2 score lines to the first horizontal score line. I like to cut on just to the outside of that score line so that I'm cutting it completely off. And then I'll miter a bit just to take out the bulk. And then we'll flip that 180 and do the same thing, removing that score line completely, which makes our box fold up a little bit more nicely. Okay, so that is our basic box. Now I'm going to take some tear and tape, and this is the inside of the box, this is the outside of the box. I'm going to pick, I usually pick the right hand side unless I've messed something up. And then I'm just going to put 2 pieces of tear and tape along those edges. And I want to get them right next to the score line and right next to the cut line without going over. And that just gives me a nice tight fit with no gaps when I fold up my box. Okay, so we'll go ahead and give those tear and tape pieces a good burnish. That's how we keep our box together nice and solid. And then I'm going to go ahead and bring in some liquid glue for this part. I'm going to remove this tear and tape first, though, the backing. Let's remove that. Let's see. Okay, so we've got that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put some liquid glue on these 2 tabs. And then I'm going to add a little bit of liquid glue at the top and the bottom in the center of these 2 pieces. And that's just so that sticks well and doesn't have a gape when I put it together. Okay, so I'm going to take the left-hand side and I'm going to fold these in and up, and then I'm going to bring those tabs up and secure them to those sides like that. And the reason that I do that is that it leaves me a clean side, a clean inside, so that whatever I'm putting in here doesn't get stuck on this tab. And then I'm simply going to fold this up, make sure my top is even, fold that over, give it a good little burnish there. We'll do the same thing on the other side. Make sure that top is lined up. Then I'll take my bone folder, give that a good burnish so that my box doesn't fall apart. And here is my basic box. Now, from the dies, which let me show you the die chart for these dies. You get this nice tag, and we're going to make a box with this tag. It also has a reinforcer. I'm not using that today, but you could use it to reinforce that hole for your ribbon. We've got the tree. We are using that. We've got the ghost that you stamp and die cut. Here's a ghost that you can just put inside that die cut or use it on its own. We've got a stamped and die cut cat, some stars, this little swirly piece, a moon. We will be using that. We've got the cat with the hat, and we will be using that. A bat that you can stamp and die cut, and then there's 3 bats that just die cut out. Okay, so that is the die chart for that, so you know what all is in that set and what cuts out. Now I have cut 2 of the tags in basic gray, and I cut these both at the same time. You just need a piece of cardstock that's about 2.5 by 4 3/4, 2 of them. If you stack them together and run it through, you'll get 2, and then you can do that in 1 die cut pass. We're going to take one of these, and there's a stamp in there that has some stars and things, and we're going to take that with some Versamark ink. Let me get my silicone mat, so I want just a little bit of cushion here. And I'm going to take my Versamark pad and that stamp, and I'm going to turn my paper and my stamp, and I'm going to randomly stamp all over the front of my tag here. Okay, and that's good. So we've got that. We'll set that aside to dry for a minute. And then while we're doing that, we can talk about the other pieces that you need to die cut. So you'll need a piece of Very Vanilla, and you're going to die cut the moon. Okay. You'll also need a piece of Basic Black, and we're going to die cut the tree. And then I took this tree and I ran it through the Textured Tree Rings embossing folder. This is also part of the July online exclusives release. And so I took that and I ran my tree through the embossing folder after I die cut it, just to put a little bit of texture on there, and hopefully you can see that. Okay. Now with the moon, we're going to take a little bit of Golden Glow and a blending brush, and I'm going to move this for a minute. And we're just, oh, I got crazy. I forgot to knock that off of there before I put that on. And we'll see how that's going to look. Got a little bit. I really don't want that much at the bottom. Once you put it on, you can't take it off. So be careful and always rub your brush off on the scrap piece of paper or your glass mat before you take it to your paper. Okay, so we've got those two pieces. Now we need to stamp a little bit. So let's get some black ink. I'm using Memento Tuxedo Black. And we're going to take the cat in the hat, which should be right here on my desk. Where did it go? Let's see if I put it away. Because if I didn't, it's going to be a problem. I did not. Where is my... Oh, wait a minute. I know where it's at. I have it on my stamp positioner tool because I did the second a card that I'm going to show you, and I had them stamped all at once. So we only need this one for this project. So let's pull that off the stamp positioner and give that a good stamp. Okay, so we've got that. All right. And then while we're stamping, we might just as well go ahead and do our sentiment. So we're going to take some Blackberry Bliss ink, and we're going to take Boo to You. And we're going to give that a good press and let it sit for a minute and soak into the paper. Okay, and that's going to give us a nice crisp image. And I'm going to go ahead and clean that pretty quickly. Blackberry Bliss stains pretty heavy, so we might just as well give that a good clean on our chamois. All right, so we've got that. Now let's go ahead and color. And let's start with our kitty, and let's start with light petal pink. I'm going to take and put some cheeks in here and a little bit in the ears and a little bit right here. And then we're going to take some light basic black. And I'm not going to use very much of the light basic black. It's a little dark and a little hard to control, I think. But I do want a little bit of a darker shadow. So we're going to go down here and put in just a bit where there would be a shadow. Okay. And then we'll take dark smoky slate. And you guys, I have no idea if Facebook has corrected their auto generation of comments. So if I'm not seeing yours at the moment, I apologize. I will update this shortly and see if I've missed anything. Okay, so now I'm just going to take the dark smoky slate and blend in our cat. And I'll keep moving that marker around so I don't wear out any one particular side. Okay, so we've got that now. Oops. And look what I forgot. I forgot his tail. Let's go in and do that. We're going to take a little bit of basic black here and just a tiny bit at the tip. And then again, we'll fill that in with the dark smoky slate, blending those colors together. I think my dark smoky slate is getting at the end here. I colored a lot of dragons with that earlier. Okay, so we've got that. Now, for our hat, we're going to take fresh freesia, and I'm going to start with the dark again. And I'm going to go in here, and where all these artist lines are, I'm going to just go along there, and I want to do this part right here where it would be darker on the inside, and down here where the cat's head would put a shadow. All with the dark. And then I'll go back with the light and blend that all together. So we'll get that colored up. This one little image doesn't take that long. It's actually pretty quick. All right. So there we are. Okay, and the last thing for this is to take our Wink of Stella, and I'm going to go in and just give that some sparkle. All right, there we go. All right, so now these pieces are ready to be cut. So let's grab the die for that. So we've got the little cat die here. And we're just going to line that all up. And grab our die cut machine. This is the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss. And we'll have plate 1, plate 2, our paper and die, and then another plate 2. And then for our sentiment, we're going to fussy cut. Okay? Now, I didn't want you to have to watch me fussy cut. So I did pre-do that. And what I did with the boo to you, you can see here it's 1. I cut it into 2 and separated it. Okay? So here are the pieces now that we need for our box. Let me refresh. Hello, Laura. Hello, Jennifer. I guess I don't need to refresh. I see you guys are on. So, okay, so we've got this piece now. And we're going to take and put our moon up here. And then we'll take our tree with the tree ring die cut. Oh, I forgot one piece here. And let's see, can I get that out of this? You know what I forgot? Hang on, let me grab that real quick because we need that to fit exactly. So let me get a piece of black. And I just need a small little piece. So we'll get a 2, I think I said 2.5. 2.5 inch piece of the black. And I don't really need all of this. So I'm just going to cut, 2.5 inches is way more than I need. I'm just going to cut 2 inches. That's plenty. So 2 by 2.5. Let's bring back in the mini die cut machine. What we're going to do is we're going to put this down. So we'll put this piece down and we'll put this down on our piece of black. And I want that to stay put, so I'm going to just secure that so it doesn't move. Okay. And then we'll get our machine. Move these pieces out of the way. And then I don't want this whole thing. I don't need that to go through. That piece of tape looks like it's seen better days. It doesn't want to stay. So we'll just put this in and do this. Okay, now I don't need to cut this whole thing on my tray. So I'm just going to take and put this part way. I'm only doing a partial cut because I don't need the whole thing. I just need the bottom edge. Okay, so that's going to cut that. All right, now we've got that. This out of our way. And then it's not cut all the way, but it doesn't matter. I don't need all this. Then what I'm going to do is I want some ground on here. So I'm just going to take and tear this like so. Okay. And what that does is it gives me the exact shape I need for the bottom, but I still get the I still get the piece I want, and it looks like it was cut to fit. Now, for this part here, I'm just going to put a little bit of glue like here because I'm going to put my tree down here. And I'm going to make sure that my bottom and sides seal up. So we'll go ahead and we'll add this like that. And now it looks like it was an intentional piece. All of my lines are flowing and it doesn't look like I just plopped it down on top. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're going to go ahead and we'll set this like so. And I want this to go down flat, so I'm just going to put this on here with some liquid glue. Kind of like that. And then we're going to take our tree. And for my tree, I'm going to put some liquid glue just along this trunk. I want my branches to be pretty free flowing. So I'm just going to take this and we're going to put this down in that ground like so. And that's just going to hang off like that. Okay. So we'll have some pieces that'll hang over a bit. And all of our top pieces are flowing freely. Okay. Next, we'll add our cat. And for that, we're going to use some Stampin' Dimensionals. And I'm going to take his tail and my bone folder and give that a little curl. And then I'm going to curl just the tip back the other way, just so it has a little bit of dimension and looks a little more real. And I'll take this and add it down here. I'll leave just a little bit of room on the right side for my sentiment. And for that, we're going to take the 2U, and I'm going to take part of the mini here. And I'm going to use this edge piece here, and I'm just going to cut a thin piece from the edge and place that down here like this, making sure it doesn't show on the bottom or the top. And then I'm going to take a tiny little piece of glue, or a tiny little dab of glue, put over here. I might have got a little carried away. Let's wipe that off a little bit on my silicone mat. Pull off the dimensional backing, and we'll put this down here like that. And then we'll get our dimensionals again. Actually, let's just take a piece of this. I think that'll work. Always good to use up your edges. And then for this, I'm going to slide this under the branch of that tree. And so it looks a little more spooky. We'll do the same thing here. One of the reasons why I left those free flowing. Okay, so now we're almost done with this. We just need to add it to our box, add our embellishments, and we are almost finished. Okay, so to add it to our box, and take some liquid glue and put it on the box, because I made the box 3 inches tall and my tag is taller. I also made this so it's just a tiny bit narrower, the box. So you'll have just the teeniest, it's like a 1/16 of an inch on each side, and with the liquid glue you can move that around a little bit. So we've got that on, it's sitting nice and flat on the table, and when I'm happy with it, I'll go in here with my bone folder and give that a good burnish so it doesn't move. Okay, and then we'll take and do the same thing for the back. Now you could stamp on the back with this stamp too, but I did not. So just going to lay that down, line it up, make sure it sits nice and level. And when I'm happy with that, again, I'll take my bone folder, burnish that liquid glue in there, and there is our basic box finished. Now let's go ahead and add some trim, and we'll add some of our bats and ghosts. So I'm going to take one little ghost here. I'm going to stick this up here on the tree trunk by the boo, and I'm going to give that a good press from the inside and the outside, squeezing good between my fingers. And then we'll take a bat, and I'm going to put a bat up here on the moon. And again, I'm going to give that a good squeeze. Make sure that it adheres well. They do have a good amount of adhesive on the back. And we'll do that. And again, I'm going to get that between the front and the back and stick those in. Okay. Now, because this is a pretty good size box, you can get a lot of things in here. You could get a couple of fun size candy bars, a whole bunch of Hershey's Kisses, whatever you feel like you'd like to put in. Because you've got 2¼ inches by 3 just for this box. So you can get quite a few little goodies in there. So, and now to finish this off, we're going to take that black iridescent ribbon, and I'm going to put this through the front. And before I do that, I'm going to put something in here that has a little bit of weight, because that's just going to help me. And I think I can still get that back out. Okay, so I've got that. I'll go from the front through to the back. I need a different point. This is raveling. So I'll just give that a quick little trim. If you pull at this like I am, it does ravel right there at the edge. So just be aware of that. And we'll put this in. Give ourselves enough ribbon. I like to tie on the bolt, so I'm going to take this and just give myself a little loop, swoop, tuck it, and pull. Then I can adjust. Well, I can if I leave myself a loop long enough to get my finger in there. And I'm going to try and pull that to the front more before I get it too tight. Okay, this loop is a little bit longer than I want than the other side, so let's fix that up. And then we'll just trim this off. Okay, and there, uh-oh, I'll have to untie that to get that out. It's not coming out without being untied. It's okay. You could easily give a little gift to your stamping friends of a stamping block in that box. That would work perfectly. All right, so there we have it. Our little tag box from our My Fright dies. Now, if you'd like to, before we go, I have made a coordinating card that you could also give with this. And this uses all 3 characters from the stamp set, along with the embossing folder, the Swirls of Magic embossing folder. I've added some of the clouds and basically did everything the same using that folder for the tree. And in this case, I just used some white stars because I felt that these are really quite thick, and so the puffy stars work a little bit better to go in the mail. Okay, and then on the inside, I put Happy Halloween and used that bat stamp to go along. And then for the envelope, I used the Address to You oval along with the bats to make that coordinating card. Okay, now I have all of my July online exclusive products here that I'll show you if you're interested. And so let's go ahead and take a look at those products up close. Okay, and I've got all my die charts here. So we're going to start with the framed violets. And hopefully I've got this organized enough. So with the framed violets, you have a 9-piece photopolymer stamp set, and then you have the die set. Okay, so these two stamps here coordinate, well, actually, these 3 stamps coordinate with the dies, and then you get these bonus pieces. And this is an extra die. This die here cuts solid, and then this piece fits inside this line. So if you wanted to, you could add that in there in a different color or what have you. And then you get these pieces to make a flower. Okay, so that's that. It also has coordinating paper. It's part of the Violet Dreams suite. And so the paper in there looks like this. Actually, it goes like this, so you can see the fronts and the backs. It wants to spread out here for me. And then finally we have this one. Okay, now this is a specialty die cut paper. So in addition to the 5 double-sided designs, you get 2 sheets of these die cut pieces that you can cut out. Some you can color. These frames cut out multiple layers, and then you have these pieces here. Okay, and that's what makes it a specialty paper. And then the embellishment that goes along with that suite is the adhesive backed blooms. And these come in basic beige, fresh freesia, and purple. Okay, so that is the frame, or the Violet Dreams suite. Let me get all of these things that we don't need out of the way here real quick, so I don't end up with a huge mess and things missing. Okay, so next we have Festive Cheer. Oops. Festive Cheer. I actually have them in one envelope. This is a standalone bundle. Okay, so we've got the stamp set, and then we have the matching dies. This is a 2-step stamp set. This is the outside and the inside, the outside, the inside. I have not finished my die chart to do that yet. I just did the die cuts as they were. There's a die that cuts Noel, and you're not having to line it up there. It's all on one die, and then when it cuts them all individually. Okay, this die right here cuts these pieces, and I think this is supposed to be an extra branch. I haven't quite figured that out, but anyway, that is the Festive Cheer bundle. Oh, and just so you know, Stampin' Up! Has told us that the bulk of the Halloween stuff is included in this July online exclusives release. You won't find them in the next catalog. Okay, so then we have the Pretty Poinsettia bundle. And this is the die chart for that. So I got pretty crazy on my die chart here, showing you what pieces do what. And then I want you to notice that for these, so these are how they cut on the right, or on the left. That's how it cuts on the right, on the left, just normal. And then these ones on the right, I use the new impressions plate to get a much deeper impression on the poinsettias there. Okay. And then this one is the stamp and center cut. I stamp those together, or you can have this stacked. You've got a couple of pine boughs, some leaves, and then you've got these little pieces which make this. I did 2 die cuts here for this one, and 4 of those together makes that little flower. And then again, I should just take this out of here. You get this big leaf die, and this is what it looks like when you just regularly cut it. And this is the difference with the impressions plate. Okay, so I highly recommend the impressions plate. If you don't already have it, go ahead and add that to your order. And that is the pretty poinsettia bundle. Then we have the summer happiness bundle. This comes with stamps and coordinating dies. What you see on the left here is the stamped and die cut images. What you see on the right is the washi tape that you can die cut with. Just add this to a strip of cardstock in whatever color suits your fancy. I did white for this example, and then I die cut it with the dies. And then these across the bottom are the bonus dies. Okay, so that's the summer happiness bundle. The washi tape again is not included in that bundle. You do have to purchase that separately. Here's one of those little black dots from the ghost. Let me put that on my silicone mat so I can put it back on its carrier sheet. So there's the summer happiness. Sorry about that. And then our last bundle that I purchased is the Simply Leaves. And this has a coordinating punch. So when you purchase the bundle, you get the stamp set and the punch. And you'll see a project made with this little leaf later in a completely non-leafy way. Okay. I can't show it to you at this minute because if I do, it gives away surprises for those who are attending a live event on Saturday or Friday this month. Okay, so we've got that. And then the last thing, oh no, I guess it's the last stamp set out of that. I purchased the birthday song. And this is an actual song that Stampin' Up sings to their employees on their birthdays. And it says, "This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. Hey." And then they do some clapping while they're doing it. This got some flamingos. This is a birthday hat here, in case you're wondering, that you can stamp on the head of the flamingos. And then you've got some notes, some music notes, and then you've got these walruses and a speech bubble. Okay, so this is standalone stamp set. And then they have seasonal cheer mini embossing folders in this release. And you get 3 mini embossing folders. One is candy canes. One is bats and stars. And I actually did do these so you can see what they look like. So here are the candy canes. That's what they look like. And then here are the bats and stars. And finally, we have a leaf embossing folders. These are not 3D embossing folders. They're the regular type. And they will work in your mini die cut machine. Kind of nice just to give a little bit of embossing when you don't want to emboss the whole piece. Okay, well, that is what I have for you this evening. I thought we could go through those few. Oh, you know what I forgot to show you as part of the Violet Dream Suite? I don't know that you can really see that. This is the Shimmering Stripes Designer Series paper here. It's a nice addition to just about any card that you want to take up a notch. I don't know if you can see that on the camera or not, but each of those stripes is glittered, but the glitter does not come off. All right, that is what I purchased from the July online exclusives, just to give you a little sneak peek so you'll know when everything goes live tonight. As Tracy and I always tell our customers, whatever you want, get it now before it sells out so you won't be sad later. All right, everybody, thanks for joining. I will be back on Thursday night on YouTube at 7 p.m. with another live project. I hope to see you then. Good night. Thanks for joining me. And of course, you can purchase all of these items in my online store. There is a Shop Now button located on my business Facebook page. Thanks so much.